Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jewell, thanks for being here. There are two things that the American people want from federal agencies. They want accountability and they want transparency. So let's look at those two things. Accountability. Anyone at any agency been fired for this environmental disaster?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And has any federal agency been fined for this environmental disaster?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Talk about so much for accountability. So let's talk about transparency. The water pressure at the nearby Red and Bonita mine tested prior to work being conducted was tested, but not at the gold mine, Gold King mine. Why did your report fail to address EPA's decision to proceed on work at the Gold King without testing the pressure like they did at the Red and Bonita mine?
David, I think I'll let you go ahead and answer that as it's technical.
Sure. Thank you, Congressman. I believe our report is clear that if EPA, DRMS, or its contractor would have done vertical drilling as they did in the Red and Bonita mine, that direct verification of pressure or no pressure, this incident wouldn't have occurred.
Exactly. Why wasn't it done? Why didn't the report go into that?
I think the report clearly identifies that it should have been done. And if it were done, we would not have had the situation that occurred on the 5th of August.
Okay, you say in the abstract it should have been done. Why didn't it get to the bottom of why the EPA didn't do that?
Congressman, if I can jump in here.
Who made the mistake? Who didn't call for it?
EPA had requested a consultation by Mr. Gabla, who provided the expertise and the suggestions in the Red and Bonita mine. That was scheduled for August 14th. They were doing preparation work in the site, clearly without an intent to do a spill. That's when the spill occurred. Had he done the consultation, he may have provided advice that would have prevented the spill, but the prep work in the site resulted in the release.
Okay, let me talk about a related issue. One of your peer reviewers, an expert employed by the Army Corps of Engineers, protested that the DOI report, your report, failed to explain the decisions that led to the disaster. He further stated that, quote, the report should have described what happened internally in EPA that resulted in the path forward and eventually caused the failure, unquote. Why didn't the report prove what went wrong with the EPA?
David?
Sure. Again, as Secretary Jewell indicated earlier, our scope of work was related to looking at a technical root cause analysis based on our geotechnical engineering expertise. We didn't have the authority to compel another agency to provide documents. We don't have the investigative tools to perform that analysis, so we strictly focused on the technical merits of the review. With respect to the peer reviewers...
Okay, let's go right there. So you're letting the EPA get off scot-free, it sounds like. They are not being held accountable, and there's really not even a lot of transparency. But when you want to hold someone accountable, you throw a state agency under the bus. DOI claims that in the hours leading up to the blowout, two DRMS, that's the Colorado agency, officials visited the site to view conditions and were in agreement, quote unquote, with the EPA on continuing excavating. Two DRMS employees did go there, but they said there was no such agreement, and they wrote the EPA saying that that was the case. There was no such agreement. They were only there to consult with the EPA about future underground mine work at the Gold King that had nothing to do with excavation taking place by EPA and or its contractor that morning. No one at DRMS directed any work at Gold King, nor did any DRMS personnel approve or disapprove any of the work EPA was conducting there, unquote. So you say that you're not finding blame, but you certainly seem to be able to find a way to blame a state agency, which was just kind of an innocent bystander. Isn't that correct?
Our report captures the discussions that occurred after the event when we went out to speak with those parties that were involved, DRMS, the contractor, EPA. We stand by the report that we published, that there was consultation amongst those three parties, there was discussions amongst those three parties, there was agreement amongst those three parties, and that's why we captured the language we did in our report.
Well, I don't see conspiracy. I see shifting blame to other people. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Dingell.